He just texted us, "Oh God!" I think there's a non-zero chance that Ryan just live shit himself on the Bros in the Berg podcast. There's a non-zero chance.
Cause we way too high for you. Tripping like we got too much on. Don't they got love before us? Cause we staying all night long. Yo, when we walk in the club, you better believe we know what's up. Got these girls a little trance, throwing rhythm in the dance.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to another rendition of the Bros and the Berg podcast. We thank you for joining us for another phenomenal week of content brought to you by your favorite creators. I am, of course, Ryan Doyle, joined by my co-host, Robbie Bergstone. And down below us is the most handsome, most productive executive producer, Connor Doyle. Everyone clap. Discord sound effect clap.
Thank you.
We thank you for listening, watching, wherever you get your podcast. Today is June 28th in the year of our Lord 2023, where we have another jam-packed episode for you today, filled with hot takes, awful opinions, and just random-ass brackets that we throw together at the last second.
No, I worked on this one, Robbie. Come on.
We've been thinking about these for weeks. I have a draft board that goes 10 deep, even though we're only making 3 picks.
Oh wow!
I'm shooting from the hip, so I guess it's just me.
I am too. Yeah. I honestly only have 2 picks in mind, and then I'm just gonna have to figure out the third as we go. That's all I got.
So if you're wondering what Ryan and Robbie are talking about, we're gonna start off with a draft today. Today we're gonna do 2 drafts, but they're gonna be shortened. It's gonna be 3 picks each. And to start off the episode, we are getting into a draft. Like I said, 3 picks each. What do we want to label this as? Is this the most punchable athlete? The athletes that we would most like to punch in the face? Like what's the
most punchable face? I think is.
Oh, okay. Then that changes my picks a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to be
most
objective.
punchable face.
Really am trying to be objective because it could be Chris Paul and Paul George take number 1 and 2, 1A,
right.
1, 2, 1B, but like that's a personal preference.
I think you have to think about it not as like how you hate them as an athlete, but like if you saw like you see guys on the street and you're like, damn. Like I just really want to punch that.
And you,
I just want to punch that guy in the face. Yeah, that's what we're going for here. That's what we're focused on.
Okay. I know what my picks are. Then I was that has narrowed it down for me.
All right, we're gonna go Ryan, Robbie, Connor. Connor with the last.
This is
that almost never happens.
You're
all right, Ryan, you got pick 1.
Yes, with pick number 1 in this year's draft, I will be taking Grayson Allen.
That's a good one.
That's a good pick.
I did have that.
Really good
considered.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like this draft could be almost entirely Duke players, and like you'd probably have a pretty solid list. Like it's actually fucking insane. Like how many of them are just like, I want to punch that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is about Grayson Allen, but I don't know what it is about like the Duke players as a whole.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the guy that I really thought Ryan would take at 1. I think he was trying to be objective, and I think he actually let that blind him a little bit. But Devin Booker has a really punchable face.
He does,
and like he has like the shaved eyebrow thing going on too, and like that.
Does he have an eyebrow slit? No matter how you feel about him
as a player, I think he does, doesn't he?
Oh, I didn't think he did.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like in my head he does, which makes him even more punchable. So,
I mean, I feel like you have a super punchable face if you've been on the Kendall Jenner starting 5.
That's a good point. Yeah. Did you guys see that? Kim K posted a video the other day wearing like a shirt of all like Kendall Jenner's exes, like all on one shirt, like playing basketball. It was really fucking funny. It was really funny, but that's gonna be my first pick.
In their primes, you could make a all-star team with their fucking
for sure
NBA roster.
You're not wrong.
Yep.
So I guess it's me with the 103. I'll be going to someone that really only gained prominence this year into the public eye. We're gonna go Dylan Brooks, the new free agent.
Yeah,
I think it's a bad pick.
You think? I think
you're letting his personality sway you.
I think he also has a personal face though, or a punchable face.
I wouldn't say it's unpunchable. I definitely wouldn't say that.
I don't think it's a first round pick.
Okay.
I think that's a later round selection.
I would agree with that.
But
Connor, you're back to you again.
So on the swing, I'm between a couple here. I don't really know if he has a punchable face or not. A few of these guys were just like guys that I wanted to punch in the face, and so some of them I kind of had to like narrow it. Like Dylan Brooks, for example, was one of those guys. I'm gonna go with. I don't want. I feel like you guys are gonna take him, so I'm gonna take him. It's more, I guess more so I want to punch him. I'm gonna go Aaron Rodgers. I really
that's a good pick. That's a good pick. I'm not upset with that pick at all.
Guy's a mega douche.
Yeah,
the long hair makes it worse. The long hair has made him like infinitely more punchable as well.
I thought y'all might get him on the comeback, so I wanted to sweep him up in the second.
I'm gonna be honest. I totally forgot about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I actually didn't have him on my board. That's a good pick. It's a good pick. I'm gonna go to the world of golf, and I'm gonna make it a little bit more specific.
Okay.
But Bryson DeChambeau, specifically when he's wearing one of those stupid ass twill hats. When he's wearing one of those hats, he's already punchable. When one of those comes out too, game over. It's just done. So I'm gonna go Bryson DeChambeau.
He checks the box for, regardless of his face, his personality is dog shit. But he's also like an actual, just like a punchable dude. So I think that's a great pick from however you look at it. For my second round pick, I'm actually going to the world of baseball.
Oh,
and this guy falls into a very similar category as DeChambeau. I'm gonna go Manny Machado.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a good call. I like that take a lot.
Yeah, it's me on the turn. I guess for the third round pick. This one I let a little bit of personal bias get in the way, but I still think he does have a punchable face. We're going back to the NBA. Guy been out of the league for a couple of years now. We're gonna go Rajon Rondo.
We could take retired players. I thought this was actives only.
I was just about to ask if I have to take current players or not because I have a guy.
Ryan. That's fine. Well,
the last round we'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Okay.
I do like that take.
That's a good one though. Yeah, Rajon Rondo is a good pick.
So I'm also gonna go a guy that doesn't play anymore. Absolute superstar in college football. Didn't do that much in the NFL. We're gonna go Johnny Manziel. Such a punchable face. Yeah. Such a douchebag in general. He's just
he's kind of a skeezy dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
The thing is, like, I think, like, I'm thinking about like other quarterbacks like Johnny Manziel. Like, if you think about like Tim Tebow, like, I think in a nutshell, Tim Tebow would have a very punchable face, but he's such like an actually like good person that you would want to punch Tim Tebow in the face, and it does like kind of change how you see that person.
I think certain people would like think that Tony Romo's got kind of a punchable, or Eli Manning. Like if you're a Giants or like
Daniel Jones,
fan, like you think that both those dudes have really. What is with the NFC East and having punchable white guy faces?
Both Eastern Conferences. Think if you went back to like Tom Brady, Tom Brady is pretty punchable.
Well, he's just so handsome. I think quarterback deck him.
Yeah.
And even I think the quarterback position lends itself to white Bill quarterbacks.
Josh Allen, Josh Allen.
What about like Mark Sanchez back when he played for the Jets too? Like, dude, I mean, you can keep going.
Drew Bledsoe.
One of the best things I'm looking forward to for the NFL season is seeing some of the games that Sanchez calls, because he has some of the most out of pocket color commentary. Do you remember the one from last year when he was like, man, he hit the hole quicker than a teenager closing out his browser history? I'm like, what the fuck? I was watching that live, and I was like, wait, hold on.
I forgot about that.
Also, we get on live TV.
We get RG3 back, and RG3 is such a good color guy. He says shit like that too, but like he actually like will say things that are relevant too. I'm excited to have RG3 back.
He'll say it with his chest. Like he's not scared.
Just don't give a shit. And I think that's what the best transition is, because it used to be so like prim and proper because of like prime time TV, and now it's just like I don't give a fuck.
Now Amazon's just putting on the worst Thursday night games possible. They got to entertain themselves somehow.
I think that all color commentators should be drunk while they're calling their games, and then they just can say whatever they want. Like they just can't cuss. They can say whatever they want. Corso F-bomb replaying.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm the last pick. I did have a relatively extensive list. Again, most of these guys being just guys that I wanted to punch in the face, as opposed to being punchable faces.
Sure. It's hard to be objective.
Yeah,
I left CP3 off my list to be.
That's hard, man. That's hard. So for that reason, one I will not be selecting that was on my list was Patrick Beverley. I will not be selecting Patrick Beverley because I don't really think he has a punchable.
I don't think he's got a punchable.
I honestly don't think he's ugly. He's just annoying. He just as a player. I think I'm gonna go this way. I'll read some of the other guys that I have on this list after. I think I'm gonna go with Kyle Kuzma. I think he has
Simmons and Blake Griffin both could have easily, I think, are honorable mentions as well.
Yeah.
So some
not as much Blake, maybe, but definitely Ben Simmons
again because of the fucking personality. He's a douche nozzle.
Some of the other guys I had on my list include Lance Stevenson, who is now playing in, but that was more so I wanted to punch him. Luka, because he pisses me off sometimes. And Draymond, obviously. I mean, that being one of the obvious ones. Two more. Antonio Brown. And then I have Cam Newton at the last entry on this list.
Reading Cam Newton's Instagram captions,
tweets,
his Instagram captions and tweets just make me want to punch him. Like,
man's got his own font.
It's ridiculous. I love Cam Newton though.
That was a good draft. I think it was a great way to start off.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think anyone threw. Good job, Connor. You
guys didn't love my first Dylan Brooks pick, but you know.
I think the Brown River started flowing, if you will.
He just didn't say anything. He just what?
He got him. Did you not see him turn around? He's you can see him entering his bathroom door. He turns around and looks at us and keeps running.
Bro, he did that in one of the early episodes. It's episode 8 or whatever. He was like, "Can we stop? I have to." It was
I have to. He just texted us. Oh God! I think. There's a non-zero chance that Ryan just live shit himself on the Bros in the Berg podcast. There's a non-zero chance. For all of our listeners, Ryan just clarified underwear clean. It's fine. So I guess we're okay.
So who are some of your honorable mentions for the draft, Robbie?
I'm trying to think. Honest to God, I came in with Devin Booker and DeChambeau in my head and didn't really have a lot outside of that. I kind of thought about Manziel on the fly. I'm trying to think of other golfers that are punchable. Not John Rahm. Patrick Reed. He's up there for sure. Hockey players, even outside of how I feel about him, Kachuk. Matthew Kachuk has a very punchable face. And the problem with hockey players is their faces have been punched so much that it makes them harder to want to be punched because they've already taken that for a while.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, you've already seen someone punch them.
Yeah. I had one that it was a maybe. I literally wrote maybe. Kevin Durant has a slightly punchable face, I thought.
Yeah, he does. Bryce Harper's a miss.
Yeah, that's a good.
That's a big miss, actually.
I saw that on a list actually because I literally looked up. I was most punchable athletes, and Bryce Harper was up there for the MLB ones.
Yeah, Bryce Harper's a miss. I didn't think about Bryce Harper.
We're gonna get into some of the stuff here. Obviously, we weren't able to talk about it. It happened live the last podcast, but we weren't able to talk about it extensively. The Denver Nuggets are your 2023 NBA champions. Obviously, Nikola Jokic winning the Finals MVP. So yeah, Robbie, did you have something that you wanted to say about it?
Yeah, I just thought we'd talk about it. And it was one of those NBA seasons where I think the best team all year actually ended up winning the finals. I mean, I think the Nuggets were pretty consistently all year, one of the best teams, and by the second half of the year, were the best team in the NBA. I did not make it to the parade. I know we mentioned that in the last podcast. I was going to try to make it. I couldn't get my flight moved back for a reasonable cost, so could not make it to the parade. But Denver was pretty packed when I was there, so I'm sure it was electric. We have our fourth member of the podcast, Cadillac, has joined. For those of you watching on YouTube,
Aww. Cute.
That's a good cat. But yeah, I think the playoffs didn't play out as everyone expected, but we did see the best team in the NBA win. Which is actually pretty surprising. So,
is there any? I mean, I'm just gonna pose the question to you guys. What are the teams that you guys think that need to have an eye kept on the most this next year, or a team that you're most interested in this coming up here?
The Suns, I think, are obviously on the top of everyone's mind with some of their moves that they've made.
We're gonna talk about that later, but yeah, I think the Suns have improved probably.
Yeah.
I don't think the Suns have a pick till.
Doesn't matter. I mean, they're all in now.
30.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're still sitting there with their depth problems, right? I don't think that's necessarily been resolved.
Yep.
So I didn't check to see if this was on the list, but I think that the Mavs and the Suns have been in trade talks for DeAndre Ayton.
A little bit.
For dumping Tim Hardaway Jr.
I assume Christian Wood would be in that.
No, JaVale and somebody else.
Wood's not coming back.
I thought I was thinking y'all still had him signed.
The reports are DeAndre Ayton's one of the weird ones because there have been so many conflicting reports. Because Ryan, I have seen the same thing where it was talking about the Suns and the Mavs dealing, but also at the same time, I've seen that the Suns aren't considering dealing Ayton at all. So it's like there are very conflicting reports around him.
I don't think Ayton's a Sun when the season starts.
Oh,
No,
I think Phoenix has kind of run it with him, and it's just like,
I mean, maybe he sticks around because I
losses.
think a lot of his problems seem to be between him and Monty Williams. Like, I don't think they saw eye to eye about his work ethic and the way he did things, but obviously Monty is no longer the coach, so maybe that gets resolved. I don't know.
Sure.
If you trade Ayton, are you trading him as opposed to like for another quote unquote star or above average player? Do you just trade him for multiple players in depth?
I think
like a solid starting center.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you get a good defensive center
Yeah.
because I think your team isn't necessarily constructed to play defense really well, so you need someone to protect the paint and then maybe try to pick up another couple of role guys off the bench. I think that's what you're looking for if you're trading away Ayton. You guys want to dive into the segment that you know nothing about that
Absolutely.
I think you're going to really enjoy?
Robbie has a new segment for us this week.
So obviously we just talked about the NBA season wrapped up, and I think the NBA is probably or basketball is probably our second most talked about sport behind football. Obviously football season dominates for us. But I wanted to run back through some of our worst NBA takes over the course of this podcast.
Yes.
Mostly at the beginning of the year. I went back and listened to a few of the old pods and pulled out some of our worst takes. We get no credit for good takes. This is only our really bad ones.
No, 100%.
They don't have good picks, so this is easy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
First one is, Ryan said the Grizzlies and the Pelicans are going to play in the Western Conference Finals. And we all agreed, and then went on a 15-minute rant about how scary the Pelicans were going to be this year. Granted, we might not have known that
Zion
but
was Zion.
We were like, dude, the Pelicans are going to be so good. Like, they're just going to they're really going to turn around this year, and they're going to do it. So that was a solid one. That was a really good one.
Because CJ had just gotten traded there at that point, right? So it was kind of a
right.
Yeah,
and they're young. They're going to figure it out. This is their year, and then they made the play. Next one, we were talking about who's going to get the number one overall pick to win the Wemby sweepstakes. We did mention the Spurs, so good job there.
Nice.
But we talked about the Jazz doing some shameless tanking, which they did at the end of the year. They did a little bit, but don't forget that they were
number 3 in the West.
4 of the Western Conference half the year. Yeah. And then Ryan also, I don't know why these are all starting off Ryan, but Ryan said that the Kings were going to be hysterically bad this year.
Yeah, that like milk. That aged like milk.
Direct quote,
that's
hysterically bad.
That's a good pull.
So I promise there is some later on that aren't just Ryan, but these first three just happen to all be Ryan. So we were talking about the Jordan Poole contract, and we were talking about how it was a great deal for the Warriors, and it really looked good. And then Ryan called him the third Splash Brother.
To be fair,
he was for a little bit. Yeah,
he was for a little bit.
It's just funnier now. We'll talk about it later, but he's no longer on the team. He's literally not on the Warriors anymore.
He got traded for Chris Paul and whoever the fuck else.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Next one. This is the podcast you guys did without me, but you were talking about how many threes Ben Simmons was going to have on the year. Connor, you said he was going to have more than 10. Ryan said 5 to 8. I said 2 because I think you guys texted me afterwards because we did it for our pick'em board.
Yeah.
You know how many threes Ben Simmons had this year?
0.
He had none. He had not a single 3-pointer made the entire year.
That man is finessing.
How many games did he play?
Who cares?
You've got to hit 1 3, man.
I'll give you that.
It's a meme at this point. He can't. He's got to keep it up for the views.
This one is from me. I said the Lakers are terribly constructed and ass, which might have been true earlier in the year, but I did call them ass, which feels bad to say about a LeBron James team.
Well, that was when they had Westbrook and the weird.
They still made the Western Conference Finals, so calling them ass might have been a little bit of a stretch.
But to be fair to you, with a vastly different team, that team was very comparatively to the Lakers compared to the beginning to the end of the year, the team construct at the beginning of the year was horrid, and the team construct at the end of the year was very good. So it's a very different team.
And then the last one is one that we've already touched on the pod, but it was the post Kevin Durant trade, and Connor said that these Phoenix Suns are an absolute lock to make the NBA Finals, and there was no one in the Western Conference
heavily with that take.
Yeah, we both called him out. He's like, no, they're gonna make it. So that was a review of some of our worst NBA takes of the year. I think it's a good thing to hold ourselves accountable at the end of each of these sports seasons.
Pelicans.
Those were our worst takes of the year.
Thank you for
Zion
doing
needs
that,
to stop banging OnlyFans stars and get back in the league.
No, you get like a little dad boost once you have a kid. So like like I feel like every time like an NFL quarterback has a kid and comes back, he just like goes off.
You know how many NBA players have kids? I feel like they all just have like all of
all of them.
Ryan was shocked whenever Cade Cunningham like talked about his daughter or whatever, and I was like, yeah, his daughter was 2 on a draft day, and he was like, what, 19 when he got drafted or something 19. Like that.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, it happens, man.
My brother in Christ.
So thank you for doing that, Robbie.
Of course.
We are going to move on.
I didn't like how it started, but it's fine.
It did. I don't know why I was singling you out, but those are just the ones that I paid attention to.
We're going to move into some of the other NBA news. Most notably, the NBA draft most recently happened. And, of course, the San Antonio Spurs, with the number 1 overall pick, selected Victor Wembanyama. The obvious pick, probably the second, maybe the first, second highest prospect of all time behind LeBron James. Do you guys think this is a good pick?
You got to. Number 1.
There was just no other way.
Yeah.
It was the
$10,000 to make 300, I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because it's such a lot. Yeah, I was about to say.
Right. I mean, there's just he's the most no-brainer number 1 pick since LeBron James. Yeah. I don't think that's an all stretch to say. Like he was gonna go number 1. He's gonna go number 1 for like the last 3 years. I feel like.
Yeah. We knew this year Wemby was going number 1. Like,
yeah.
Right. He's in a great organization with the Spurs. Has one of the, if not the greatest coach of all time, in Popovich. So I think a good landing spot for him, and that was a no-brainer pick.
I'm so excited that we finally get to see, like, I feel like for the last few years, especially with the Pistons and some of the other teams, like these players, these number 1 overall picks have been going to these teams that have proven to not have very good player development. So I'm actually very excited for a number 1 pick, and especially a prospect that is as high as Wembanyama to go to Popovich and to go to the Spurs that have proven that they can make stars between Kawhi Leonard, between DeJounte Murray, and they get like the second highest prospect of all time. I'm so excited.
You're gonna leave out David Robinson and Tim Duncan.
I was saying
the best big men.
I was saying recently.
Organization that have those 2 dudes in the last 20-30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Are, like, you can't ask
for the best big
man situation. Recently,
Of course, and I'm just very excited to see what happens with that. Good Lord, I forgot who. So number 2 was Brandon Miller.
Brandon Miller to the
Charlotte Hornets. Robbie, obviously being our resident Hornets fan, what do you think?
Yeah, the fit makes sense. I think Scoot is probably going to be a better player. I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't. But I think the concern was, how do Scoot and LaMelo play together? And I think at some point in basketball you kind of ignore that and you let them figure it out. But I understand the pick. I will be honest. Like, it came out like a couple days before the draft that Brandon Miller was talking shit about MJ. Because I guess MJ airballed a free throw. I'm like, all right, well, now he's not getting drafted by the Hornets. There's just no way. MJ's not going to take some due to those like bad mouthing him in the media. But they did take him. The fit makes sense. I think he'll be a really solid player. But
Charlotte fans weren't thrilled with it.
No.
People wanted Scoot.
Yeah.
But obviously he went number 3 to the Portland Trailblazers.
It was really interesting seeing some of the talks about Shams tweeting that Scoot had gained a lot of steam over the past week, and then seeing like the betting lines move really heavily on DraftKings. That was a bit of a story, because I think Scoot was plus 700 to go to in the weeks leading up, and then when Shams tweeted that, who's also employed by DraftKings, it moved to like minus 450 or something like that.
It is interesting, like the Shams and the Wojs of the world, like could make a lot of money gambling if they just tweet out a couple of things that aren't right.
Yeah,
and like no one's gonna remember if they're not right.
It's like the stock market. You're telling me a friend of a friend of a friend, like, that's not going to get traced back? Send a text, or have a buddy send a text. Like, really? Like, that shit happens all the time.
The thing is, like, what could you do if you found out they were doing that? Like, literally nothing. They're not employed by the leagues that are, running these drafts or running these. Like, there's nothing that these gambling sites could do except start to ignore them. But then you might get yourself in more trouble doing that. So it's an interesting thing to think about.
And as Robbie said, Scoot Henderson going to the Portland Trailblazers at the number 3 pick, getting paired up with Damian Lillard. But obviously there have been a lot of reports Damian Lillard might finally want to leave Portland.
Damian loyal.
So what do we think of this pick?
I think it's the third best guy, but like, does Dame stay around? I mean, I don't know how much more you could ask for Dame from Portland.
We're getting to the point, though, like, Dame has been really loyal, and I think that's something to respect. But, like, at some point, like, he has to want to go out and win. And, like, obviously he does want to win, but, like, obviously that's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's like, when does his competitive drive finally kick in and say, I need to go elsewhere?
I think it is. Recently he has been making comments and reports and stuff, and it seems like he does want to leave at some point. Yeah. So we'll see.
I mean, the Blazers haven't been close. No. I mean, they weren't like the Mavs that had like with Dirk that had a run in the mid 2000s. Yeah. Like, okay, maybe they can get over the hump, but like,
yeah,
they
made it to the Western Conference Finals once, I think.
Once, yeah. So moving on
to the Lakers.
Yeah, I've heard the most popular theory is him going to the Heat.
Everyone's to the Lakers.
Yeah, but that team would be nasty. Like, actually, that would be disgusting.
Moving on from
how many games does Davis play?
Yeah, that's a good point. Moving on from the NBA draft.
Don't make the with Dame and LeBron. You'd make the playoffs even if Anthony Davis didn't play. I don't think. So.
Yeah. Moving on from the NBA draft, we're getting to some trade news. There have been some massive trades over the last 2 weeks, and we need to talk about them because obviously we did not record last week.
The NBA season is the offseason.
Yeah, you're right.
Trades.
Season.
So we can make even more bad takes, and then Robbie can listen back and then report it for next year.
Like I said, I went back. I think the first episode I listened to was like the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green fight because that was like the preseason of the NBA. That was like the first episode I listened to get some of these takes.
Yeah.
So. I need to start taking notes as we go along, and then going back and referencing them.
The most recent trade happening, I believe it was yesterday. The Atlanta Hawks have traded John Collins to the Utah Jazz for Rudy Gay and a future second-round pick. You might be thinking, why did the Atlanta Hawks trade John Collins for a bag of chips? And here is the reason why. Here's the explanation.
Rudy Gay doesn't deserve that hate. Come on, man.
How is Rudy Gay still in the league? Yeah, I don't think I realized that Rudy Gay was still playing. Like, that was the most shocking thing about this trade to me. I did not realize he was still in the league.
So the description
he's keeping the bench warm, man. Yeah. Come on.
So the swap creates a $25.3 million trade exception for the Hawks, which is the largest in the NBA. Atlanta has a year to potentially use the exception to take on a player's contract. So this trade was essentially made to completely clear out cap space for the Atlanta Hawks because they wanted to move on from John Collins. That experiment wasn't really working. But I think the Utah Jazz gained a really, really good young prospect in John Collins. I think this is a great trade for the Jazz.
It fits their timeline. It's another young guy, another really solid role player who knows what he does. We'll stick to it. I think a very good trade for the Jazz.
Yep.
I do worry that Markkanen and Collins are a little similar.
I think it lets Markkanen be a little bit more like the finesse guy that he is, like scoring and that type of thing. And you have John Collins just crashing the boards, doing, making cuts, pick and roll, that type of stuff, while Markkanen, doesn't have to focus as much on that. Collins can kind of be your slasher.
So do you think this is a situation where they play Markkanen at the 3 and then Collins at the 4, or do we think that Collins plays because if Collins plays the 5, that is small ball. You're playing really small ball if you're playing Collins at the 5. So I'm just interested to see position-wise what they do with the Jazz.
I think you could put them at 3-4.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. So we agree that the trade looks good for the Jazz. The fuck are the Hawks gonna do? I mean, obviously last season was a really big disappointment. DeJounte did not. I mean, he was fine. But Trey took a step back, which I don't think a lot of people saw coming. I think it's probably his worst season since his rookie year. What are they gonna do? I mean, they obviously got this trade exception to take on a crappy contract if they need to for maybe some picks. I mean, the Hawks are going to be, once again, unless they make another move, fighting for like a play-in spot or a low seed.
This to me says they have another move in mind. I don't know what it is. But I mean, you have Trey, you have DeJounte, you have Clint Capella, who's still solid, still will play defense, rebound the ball, that type of stuff. So I mean, the pieces are there to maybe not be in the plan. They're still not contending for an NBA title anytime soon.
No, it's just the East is so strong, it's so top-loaded. It's like you're not a top 4 seed. No. So. It's like I don't know what they do. Yeah,
it'll be interesting. Moving on to some player options that have been declined. I'm gonna rope 2 of these guys into one. So Draymond Green has officially declined his player option, and then so has Chris Middleton. They have both declined their player options, and the reports are it seems like both of these guys are essentially going to take pay cuts. So it looks like Draymond is probably going to sign back with the Warriors and take a bit because I believe his player option was around the figure of $27 million, and I believe Middleton's was around that too. And so they're pretty huge. Middleton,
one of these is not like the other.
Middleton maybe not.
Middleton that.
Yep.
Middleton maybe not as much of a foregone conclusion that he's signing back with the Bucks, but I really think he is. But I think Draymond is definitely just taking a pay cut with the Warriors.
That would be a really hard loss for the Bucks if they lost Middleton. That would be really, really bad for that team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Draymond, you're right in him taking a pay cut, but I think he's also looking to ink up one last longer term deal. That's kind of thing. Go with 100%. The Warriors. He's like, I'll be the vet that kind of brings in these new era of guys when this old dynasty retires. So give me a 4-year deal on however much money. Right. I think that's Draymond's long term.
I agree.
Right now.
Give me like 30 mil over 4 years.
Yeah.
We'll call it a day, right? Something like that.
That's what I think a lot of people are kind of just expecting.
And I bet they'll do one of those incentive things too, right? It's like, okay, we win another championship, then you give me, this giant bonus and stuff like that. Like, let's make it incentive kind of in there. So if we are playing well, I still get that money, but just kind of spread out my salary a little bit.
Yeah. And then this last player option that's been declined is definitely for someone in search of a new contract. Kyle Kuzma has declined his $13 million player option and is entering free agency. He is definitely looking for a new deal, a much bigger deal. And so I'm interested if he resigns with the Wizards just on a much, much bigger contract, or if he tries to go elsewhere. I really am not entirely sure on Kuzma's
Wizards be fucking cooking.
Yeah?
Wizards, so far, I think, are the best team in the offseason. Thoughts?
Wow, okay. There's a take.
Okay.
I don't mind it.
It's a good take.
I mean, I don't
personal.
in your opinion.
Yeah.
Kuz had a good year last year, though, so I mean, I think it makes sense opting out. It was kind of a contract year for him. I think he played a lot better last year, so it makes sense for him.
Great. Moving on to some of our blockbuster trades. Not that the Rudy Gay one wasn't. I respect the hell out of Rudy Gay, man. Come on, but make way for the young guys. Bradley Beal has been traded.
Young guys, we're about to talk about Chris Paul.
And also, not like Bradley Beal is exactly young either. Like, what's Bradley Beal's been in the league
younger than Rudy Gay.
Beal's
not by as much as you think.
Yeah, you're right.
Beal's 31, I think.
Something like that.
That sounds right.
Bradley Beal has been traded to the Phoenix Suns, and the full details are as follows. The Phoenix Suns have traded Bradley Beal, Isaiah Todd, and Jordan Goodwin to the Washington Wizards for second-round picks in 2024 through 2030, excluding a 2029 pick.
6 second-round picks, just putting that out there.
First-round pick swaps in 2024, 2026, 2028, and 2030. Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and Cash. The Suns are going all in. They need to win a championship this year or next year, or this is a complete bust. But honestly, and I agree with what Robbie said earlier, I think this makes the team better. Agreed, there is a lack of depth, but I think that this is actually a really good move by the GM of the Suns. I think this is a good.
I think the Wizards make out like fucking bandits.
No, that's a great trade for the Wizards too, 100%.
Yeah. My question for the Suns is though
awful. Like those pick swaps, and I don't think those were originally reported. So a lot of people are like, what the fuck was that? But the pick swaps, like in 26, 28, and 30 or whatever, those are like really good picks.
Mm-hmm.
My concern for the Suns is who's your primary ball handler now?
Probably
neither Bradley Beal or Devin Booker are gonna play your one.
Yeah.
You lose Chris Paul, who obviously he's aged. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and I guess you play Beal at the 2 and Booker at the 3.
Well, again, this kind of comes back to if Ayton's staying or not, because that completely changes the starting lineup of the Suns.
Or do you let KD go the point guard? And,
KD won't play.
I don't know. I don't know who brings the. I don't know who brings the ball.
I think Booker. plays
Booker,
the one.
I guess, but he's never really done that in the NBA.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. No, it definitely 100%. The starting lineup will be interesting for the Suns. So as kind of a part of that trade, it was kind of reported within the same time. Chris Paul was traded from the Washington Wizards to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole, a 2030 first round pick, and a 2027 second round pick. Again, the Wizards with a pretty good package there. And obviously, like we mentioned this a few podcasts ago, but Steve Kerr talking about how the Warriors never really recovered from the incident with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. So the Warriors kind of needed to get rid of Jordan Poole, and this was the opportunity for that.
Like I said, I'm going back to the Wizards in this whole offseason. They're going to suck this upcoming year, but Jordan Poole is going to be the captain tank commander. That man is going to pilot this fucking ship into the dirt But while doing it, I think he's going to improve his his trade value. I mean, his contract is probably one of like the most egregious ones currently in the NBA. So I think he's going to, be able to live up to that a little bit more. And now the Wizards have picks and can still have cap space to take on some bad trades and get more picks. So it's looking pretty interesting.
It's a hard ask for Jordan Poole, though, going from, the greatest dynasty of this decade to what's probably going to be maybe the worst team in the NBA next year. Like, that's quite the culture shock. And does he kind of have that mental toughness to play through that? Because, for anyone, that's a tough thing.
$30 million a year, cope and seethe and drive the tank. Like
you act like they don't still do that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, what's another couple $1 million if you already have it? So, like, he's like, oh, why the fuck am I here? Like,
yeah,
right.
I don't know.
But should be interesting.
Something that we also need to talk about: Chris Paul on the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, it was really funny on the NBA subreddit. All these Warrior fans like, hold on, I gotta go scrub my post history for Chris Paul slander over the past 10 years. Yeah,
but he's gonna. He'll come in and run that second unit. I don't think it's a horrible pickup for them. And I think we talked about that Chris Paul needed to take on some less minutes last podcast. He's going to stay with the Suns. So, I mean, I think it can work for the Warriors. So we'll see.
No, I agree. I think it'll be interesting because, like you said, he's just going to be the point guard off the bench. So that'll be interesting. Like, because I thought ESPN posting things where it was like, oh yeah, Chris Paul in the starting lineup. I was like, there's no way in hell that Chris Paul is going to be in the starting lineup. Like, that's just not happening.
I'm taking Klay Thompson on one leg versus Chris Paul at this point. I know Klay didn't even play that well last year, but I'm still taking Klay on one leg. Like,
oh, wow.
I do love all these like 8th graders getting traded for in these packages. Like
it is funny.
30 picks. Like,
that's a good way to look at it.
Midst of puberty.
Yeah.
That way they can actually get LeBron's next son with this pick. I can't remember his name off the top.
Yeah,
of my
they're
head.
already doing the mock drafts for Bronny, and it's like Bronny going at 18 to the Hawks. I'm like, what? This is what constitutes as NBA news right now? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, Braun retweeted it.
Really?
Like, he's like, bro, but I guess we're gonna be fans of the ATL or some shit like that.
Look, Cap.
What is?
Bro, he'd be lying his ass off. Some of those videos are so funny.
Look, Cap.
Do you guys think LeBron retires after this year? Or do you think he does stay until Bronny?
No, he stays until Bronny.
He stays
in the
until
league.
Bronny.
Yeah. He just made one comment kind of about that his dream is to play with Bronny, but Bronny's dream isn't necessarily to play with
That's
him.
kind of funny.
And he's like, no, maybe I need to take a step back and not really push that narrative. Maybe I need to let my son kind of do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
that'll be an interesting thing to see.
Top
10
5 player in the 10 player in the league. Like,
100%.
Dude's like pushing 40 and still fucking hooping.
Yeah. Does LeBron do like the Kobe farewell tour, or does LeBron just retire at the end of the year and not tell anyone that he's
I think he does a farewell tour. I think he does something like that.
If you're gonna do something like I'm gonna take my talents to fucking South Beach, like right off into the sunset. Like, he's too dramatic.
He's all
Look up. So our last trade to talk about, our favorite Tingus Pingus. This is a 3-team trade involving.
What the fuck is this?
Tingus Pingus.
This is a 3-team trade. The Celtics will be receiving Kristaps Porzingis via the Wizards, the number 25 pick in the 2023 draft by the Grizzlies, and the 2024 first-round pick, top 4 protected by the Warriors. The Grizzlies will be receiving Marcus Smart from the Celtics, and the Wizards will be receiving Tyus Jones from the Grizzlies, Danilo Gallinari from the Celtics, Mike Muscala from the Celtics, and the number 35 pick in the 2023 draft from the Celtics. This was heartbreaking.
This is an involved trade.
This was heartbreaking.
This has been in talks for like a while.
Did you see what Marcus Smart said? I felt so bad.
Yeah.
He was like, I thought I was going to retire in Boston. I was like, oh, that's
so did all the Celtics fans.
I know. They hated it.
He was going to be there forever.
Yeah.
But this is one of those 3-team trades that I think works for every team in the trade.
Yeah.
Like, I think it'll be. I mean, the fact Celtics got 2 picks and Porzingis, I think is a really good.
If Porzingis plays like he did last year, Celtics win this trade.
Yeah.
But obviously, Tingus Pingus is the biggest question mark of this whole deal.
Well, I mean,
it's more his injuries, I think.
Right.
And like Marcus Smart, I think, obviously just being a good point guard as well, but a lot of people forget. I mean, this is really vital to the Grizzlies in the first half of the season because John Morant has been suspended for like 25 games or whatever it may be. So Marcus Smart is going to be that starting point guard.
Actually like a good Dylan Brooks.
Well, Smart's going to like
Brooks just like made everyone think that he was decent because he ran his mouth.
Smart perfectly fits.
He just be out there running around. He trick y'all, man.
Smart perfectly fixed that,
y'all, man.
That Memphis like grit though, like that Mike Conley, right. Tony Allen, like that Memphis has always had that.
Tony Allen of this generation,
but he's a better shooter. Yeah, exactly. He's
as I say, better offensively.
Better offensive player, but yeah.
Well, he developed. To be fair, he developed that. Like when Smart came out of college, he was like Tony Allen. Like he didn't have any shot when he straight came out of college.
That's on draft night. He drew comparisons to Tony Allen.
Because
he was Oklahoma State.
Yeah, of course.
But like game wise, yeah,
100%. So yeah, a lot of interesting happenings in the NBA right now with all the trades and stuff. Obviously did our little recap. Our second draft, we're gonna do it right now. 3 picks each. We're gonna go. It's a cheese draft. I know you're thinking a cheese draft. Yeah, we're doing a cheese.
I feel like our food drafts are the ones that get the most intense. Is the food drafts.
Well, there's a lot of difference of opinion when it comes to the food draft.
Yep. So I randomized the order again. Ryan's going first again, and then it's going Connor, and then me.
I'm so scared.
I'm going first again?
You're going first again?
Oh, also Vucevic re-signed for the Bulls. I don't know if we said that.
No, we did not. Thank you for that.
3 years, $60 million extension.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's a good pickup.
That's not bad. That's not bad. The Mavs would fucking pay that.
Yeah. Well, hey, reportedly, Kyrie has asked to wear number 11, so signs are pointing to that he's actually going to re-sign. So.
Great. Yeah. Great. I think this cheese can go well with a lot of things. You find it on a lot of dishes. It's not super pungent, but it's got a nice, rich, fatty texture. I think I'm going to have to go with mozzarella for number one.
That was one of the two that I would have taken at one. That was one of the two I was debating between.
That's tough, but I think I think it fits a lot of different roles.
It's one of those cheeses, like if you have it in your fridge and you're out of cheese, whatever you're making, you can pretty much add mozzarella and you're not going to be upset with the result. Like it'll fit where it needs to fit in, and it's a great star in like maybe some Italian food and things like that. So
100%.
Yeah, there's certain things that I just like. Sharp cheddar might go well on a like a panini, but sharp cheddar doesn't go well on a fucking pizza, right? But like I can put mozzarella on both of those things.
So kind of to Ryan's point, I'm gonna do something that's very versatile. There's a lot of you can shave it, you can grate it, you can shred it, bro. We're getting crazy with this cheese. You put it on pizza, you melt it, you do whatever with it.
I know where you're going.
We're gonna go Parmesan. Parmesan
is that's another really good cheese. Another Italian-based cheese.
A little nuttiness to it. I love it.
Yeah, I think the Italians do cheese well for sure.
Yeah,
it's one of their strengths.
Yeah. Show.
I'm gonna go with the cheese for my first pick that Ryan already mentioned. I do think it's versatile just because there are many different variations of said cheese. But I'm gonna go cheddar.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the sharp cheddar. You can get a white cheddar. You can get the other orange cheddars that aren't sharp. There's a lot of different ways you can go with cheddar. I think it plays in a lot of different roles.
I'm a big cheddar. I agree. I'm a huge sharp cheddar guy.
I think we've taken the top 3 cheeses. I think we probably unanimously would have had those in the top 3.
Yeah.
So I think we're now in a more personal preference. I'm gonna go with the cheese. I'm gonna go with our first little bit spicier cheese.
Oh.
Really good player. I'm gonna go pepper jack. I am a shameless pepper jack homer. I like a little bit of spiciness in there, so I'm gonna go pepper jack.
I think takes pepper jack at 1A. Every day and twice on Sunday. So.
I don't know. I'm struggling with trying to think of something that, like a superstar player. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking of bench warmers right now.
Hey, we're in the second round. You don't have to take a superstar. You just gotta get a solid role guy.
All right. Okay. Well, I think this guy fits that description really well. I do like the taste. Like I said, it's a little bit mild. It's a little bit muted. I'm going to take Swiss cheese. I'm a fan of Swiss cheese.
I hate Swiss cheese.
Why do you hate
that was the
Swiss
one
cheese?
That I really don't.
What's wrong with Swiss cheese?
I don't like the taste.
I don't hate it. I just like it's not on the board for me.
I can't think
it
of
is like the
stuff.
one cheese that I won't eat. It's literally the one that I won't eat.
Really?
Cheese.
Wow.
I eat blue cheese.
Yeah, it's blue cheese for me.
I'm coming around to blue cheese recently. I still wouldn't put it anywhere near my top 5, but I'm coming around to it a little bit.
Gross. Yeah. How mad would you guys be if I just said like fucking like cottage cheese?
Ew.
Oh,
I'm not. I fucking can't stand cottage cheese. I think here it goes really well on sandwiches. Is kind of what I'm going for. Cold sandwiches, hot sandwiches. I think it's a premier sandwich cheese. Kind of struggles outside of that realm, but I'm a big sandwich guy, so I'm just gonna go fuck. I fuck with it. I'm gonna go with the smoked provolone. It's got to be smoked. There's a difference between the non-smoked. And
you're right.
That's kind of what I'm going with.
Okay. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Monterey Jack.
Okay.
Damn, he came back quick with that one.
That kind of combats my pepper jack a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of in that same realm. Yeah.
Threw one out there. Threw a dart at the cheese board. Landed on Monterey Jack.
Fair enough.
With my number 3, this was a favorite, kind of mostly in salads growing up, but it's good on a lot of different stuff, whether it be gyros or wraps or stuff like that. We're gonna go feta.
That's the one I won with my last pick. That's a great pick.
Feta.
That was what I wanted coming around.
Also,
coming
Oaxaca cheese is really good.
Yeah,
kind of regretting the Monterey Jack.
Yeah,
Oaxaca. Sub in.
Yeah.
With my last pick, I feel like my first 2 cheeses, they can do other things, but I think Ryan talked about this. They're sandwich cheeses for the most part. Burger cheeses, perhaps. So I feel like I want to go with like a cheese that you can eat and enjoy on its own, maybe with some crackers. Maybe you bake it and put some stuff to go with it. Get a little melty, get a little crazy. We're gonna go brie cheese.
No,
that creamy, rich brie cheese. What?
I cannot fucking stand brie.
Yeah,
I can't stand you. So
it's too fucking moldy, man. Get it out of here.
I almost took pimento cheese. The southerner in me almost want pimento cheese.
Count.
Nice little cheese draft right there. Gentlemen, this is not on the docket, but I'm going to read it to you nonetheless. So obviously I sent a text to these gentlemen because we were trying to come up with new segments and stuff while the sports news dies down. An idea that I had sent was essentially occasionally for podcasts, we bring a batch of tweets that are hot takes, sports hot takes, and we kind of vote on them and see what we think of them and vote like the hottest take of the week from Twitter. So I didn't let these guys know that I was doing this week. So these are just 3 hot takes, sports hot takes that I found on the internet. We're going to vote on which one is the hot take of the week, essentially. So I have 3 for you right here. Are you guys ready? All right, here we go. I'm gonna read this verbatim. Matt Ryan is the most average quarterback ever. His MVP season was an absolute fluke, and he isn't a Hall of Famer.
Disagree with him being the most average quarterback of all time. I think the Hall of Fame debate can be had.
Oh,
but Matt Ryan was an above average quarterback for most of his career. I don't think he's like Kirk Cousins is a mid quarterback. Matt Ryan in his prime is better than Kirk Cousins.
Correct.
Not mid. Oh, I hate this argument. He's better than mid. I've been defending Kirk Cousins for like 2 years. I don't even like the guy.
He has the best receiver in the NFL, and he's still mid, Connor.
My brother in Christ, stop meat writing. He is mid.
I'm not meat writing. He's slightly above average.
I think he's not.
I think he is.
The man cannot win a primetime game to save his career.
Yeah, that's true. I'll go through one more of mine, and then I'll save the other one for last. This is the quote. Are you guys thoroughly convinced that Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback? Because I'm not thoroughly convinced yet.
Yeah, that was taken from my Twitter account.
Oh, wow.
No, that was definitely like first year when he got drafted by the Eagles. Like, he improved mightily going in Bama. He was rough. Bama fans remember it was rough that first year. Like his throwing ability goes to OU. Obviously, gets set to quarterback whisperer time. Improves greatly. Goes to the NFL. People are worried how it's going to transfer to the NFL. Becomes the highest paid quarterback. Yeah, that was me. So I understand that take for sure.
But this is after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
out of pocket.
Yeah, that's not.
Type shit.
Yeah. Ryan, go ahead and read yours, man.
Yeah, this one is previous to the John Collins trade, but it's a shout out Atlanta. The Hawks Twitter page posted a picture of Collins standing next to KD. And the tweet goes as such, quote, former MVP and future MVP.
The question being, will John Collins become an MVP?
I mean, you called Connor a meat writer earlier for Kirk Cousins, but that is just the biggest Atlanta Hawks meat writer to ever exist on the face of the earth. That's fucking absurd. That's like actually absurd.
That's a take right there.
That's from 2018, by the way. That was.
Well, okay. I feel like that's a little more understandable then, because he was just because of the fact that he was just a rookie.
MVP,
well, like you can say that about people. Well, you can say that about people that are like good rookies or whatever. You're like, oh, I think that guy will develop really well.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Hashtag freezing cold take. Oh, here's another one. I found a Twitter account that does this. It's fucking hysterical.
It's good. Yeah.
There's some NFL draft guy, 2012 NFL draft. Kellen Moore should be number 1 pick.
The funny thing is that guy probably was not alone in that. Like,
no, absolutely not.
During that period of college football, where it was like, oh, they don't respect the small schools. Like, Kellen Moore is this great quarterback. He's just not getting respected because he went to Boise State. And it's like,
yeah, the guy made like a 10-page argument on why Kellen Moore should go over Andrew Luck in that draft for the Colts.
This is one I didn't write.
That reminds me of this thread on Reddit where the guy was like, if you regress all Patrick Mahomes' stats back to the average NFL quarterback stats, you'd be a really average NFL quarterback. And this Patriots fan wrote like a legit like article on a Reddit thread about like, have you changed his stats? He'd be a mid quarterback. That just doesn't make any sense. And it was like during the time where it was like Brady versus Mahomes. So if
there was one fucking Mahomes hater, it would be him.
Literally, yeah. It was very funny.
One that I didn't write down, but I did see that I'm actually going to mention now was that college football related. Minnesota will make the CFP while Georgia, Alabama, and LSU all will not.
I'm sorry, Minnesota. That's a troll. There's no way. There's no way there's a gopher smoking that much crack that actually believes that out there.
That's actually PJ Flex burner. That's his burner account. There's just no one else.
I swear.
Burners. How many does KD have? What's 6. The number that we want to settle?
6. I think he said it right. I think he paid for verified check marks on all of them. Yeah.
6.
And then the last hot take I have, which is actually something that I don't know if it'll happen, but it's not. It's more of a hot take that could be like have a conversation around it. Bijan Robinson will lead the league in rushing yards.
Not a hot take.
No.
He's gonna get fed.
That is literally built for running.
Yeah, he's gonna get fed.
The best rushing offense. The best rushing offense in the league last year, getting the best running back prospect in the draft. I don't think that's
best rushing offense because their passing offense is so fucking incompetent.
They can't pass.
But also, like, they revitalized Cordell Patterson's career.
You're
like
right.
Over the last few years, he's been a really solid running back, and I think a lot of that has to do with scheme, offensive line. Like, yes, they can't throw the ball, but I do think there's something to be said about the scheme, about the way they've set things up to run the ball.
I agree. Obviously they're not. They're an above average rushing team. I 100% agree with that. I think part of that lends itself to they physically are unable to throw the ball.
Yeah.
We had the corpse of Matt Ryan and then Marcus Mariota and
Desmond
Ritter.
Desmond Ritter.
And we decided to stop throwing to arguably the best young tight end in the league.
We're not going down this road with you again.
Ryan hates Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts? No, I don't. I do kind of hate Kyle Pitts because he cannot fucking block. He's awful in the run scheme. But he is a receiver.
He's a good receiver.
Tight end body.
What's the take of the week, guys? What do we think it is? I think the Minnesota one's pretty bad.
The middle ones were all trolls. Every single one of those
swear,
were
like he believed it, I swear.
The Matt Ryan one I could see someone believing. The last one I could see someone believing. What was the second one?
Second one was Jalen Hurts is not an elite or not a great quarterback.
All three of those I can see people like actually believing. The ones that Ryan read, the one that Connor read about Minnesota, are people just being actual trolls on the internet. Like there's no way someone actually believes that in their heart of hearts. There's just no way.
100% believe some Boise State dude wrote that article about Kellen Moore after they beat OU. They're like, 100%. Do you remember that hype? That was crazy.
Yeah.
So we're voting on like what the hottest take was?
Yeah, we're taking the week or our favorite one or however we want to do it. I love the Minnesota. I thought the Minnesota one was hysterical.
The Minnesota one's hilarious. And if it comes true, like here,
I'll buy all the gopher stuff you can find.
If that tweet comes true, I will buy a 50-yard line ticket to the Minnesota playoff game.
Oh, that's a good one.
I will spend whatever it takes if Minnesota makes the playoffs and none of those 3 teams make the playoff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will do it, and I will go and I will eat my shoe at the 50-yard line.
He said it. He said it.
You got and shirtless though, so you gotta paint like the gopher on the front.
Yeah.
Yes, I will paint a gopher on my chest, and my nipples will be the eyeballs.
I like it.
So I need this to happen now.
So I'm betting on all the Minnesota games from now.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that was take of the week. We're gonna be doing. I think we'll be doing that one fairly frequently. I think that one's a fun one.
Yeah.
So quick.
Before we get into the MLB, can I actually give you a take? I don't think it's a hot take, but since we're on the topic of takes, we're about to go into the MLB. I think this is a good one that I've been seeing making the rounds on a couple of different places.
Please.
Is Shohei Ohtani the most talented baseball player ever?
Yes.
I don't know. I saw a tweet from a year ago where some guy said Shohei Ohtani's not getting it done at the plate. They just need to move him to a starting pitcher only. So,
yeah,
dude, who's an Angels fan?
Here's a couple of good Shohei stats I saw. Actually today I was reading through because he's been going off. Before, I think he went back over a 3 ERA last night, but before that, he had a sub-3 ERA, and he's also leading the league in home runs, RBIs, and OPS.
How do you say that he's not the most talented player of all time? Because this isn't just like a one-season thing. Like, this is a consistent thing. And granted, like I don't know a ton about baseball, like in terms of the history and stuff. I'm not super educated, but I mean, there's never been anybody like this that's been able to pitch and hit. Not since
the 1910s.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's like Babe Ruth. Like it's no.
So how do you say that he's not? Yeah, how do you say that he's not the most talented player of all time?
He's also batting over 400
when
he's the starting pitcher. He's batting over 400 when he starts the game. That is insane.
Yeah,
he is he's a very good pitcher, but he's like an elite hitter. He's top 2 hitter.
He's a top 10 pitcher and a top 5 hitter.
Yeah.
Like what? That doesn't make any sense.
Top 3 hitter.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's him.
That's why
he's on his fucking team.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He already has like a higher WAR than Bryce Harper had in his 2021 MVP season.
Wow.
Halfway through the year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's correct.
A quick little. I just have a fun fact real quick before we move on to. We're going to swing it over to Ryan for the MLB standings, but I have a fun fact for you real quick. Wilt Chamberlain is in his entire career never fouled out of a game.
There's also no proof of the 100-point game, so until otherwise, Kobe's got the record.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was just a wild stat. I thought that was fascinating. Never in his entire career, never fouled out.
But again, is there any actual proof of that? Can I watch every of his games?
He was playing against Plumbers.
These guys. We're gonna swing it over to Ryan now for the MLB standings.
Yo, swing it on over here. Start in the American League with your league leading Tampa Bay Rays. Absolutely still crushing. Yeah, so barely by the skin of their fucking teeth right now. Says the Braves homer over there in the corner. Rays are sitting at 54-28 with a 34-10 record at home. They're absolutely killing it. The entire AL East has a positive run differential, which I think has got to be a pretty interesting stat.
That's crazy.
Rays are only 4-6 in the last 10, so they've kind of hit a little bit of a cold stretch. And then you got the Orioles that are also like 17 games over 500. And you got the Yankees, Blue Jays, and the Red Sox are at the basement at 40-41. 13 and a half games behind, so the Red Sox fans are absolutely coping. Love to see it. Moving over to the AL Central, completely different story. This whole division sucks. Toss them into the sun. You have the Guardians leading at 39-40. Ooh. I mean, it's fucking brutal when you compare
the Red
to the
Sox
AL
would
East.
be leading the AL Central if they were in the AL Central. Just keep that in mind. They're in last place in their division.
Guardians, Twins, Tigers, White Sox, and Royals from top to bottom. Royals absolutely rounding out that abysmal division at 22-58 with a minus 140 run differential. They're fucking awful.
You said 140?
Minus 140. Yeah, that's correct.
The Royals split a series with the Rays last week, though.
Oh,
yeah.
Better's split a 4-game series.
It happens.
Yeah, you and I talking about who to take in the Remember you and I talking about the Rockies Braves game? Betting on that when you were in Nashville?
I swear to God,
shenanigans
every time we have a podcast, like, and we talk about the Rays like have just lost to like a horrible team.
That's baseball, man. Every week, the top tier team like just shits themselves against one of the other awful teams in the league.
Yeah.
AL West, Rangers still leading. Woo! 49-31, 5.5 game lead over the Angels. Angels have actually passed the Astros. Fuck them.
I didn't know that.
Excellent.
Yep. Astros are 43-37. Then you got the Mariners 38-41. A little bit of a disappointing season from the Mariners. People thought they'd be a bit better. And obviously the A's in comfortable last place. 29 games back of the Rangers. We haven't even hit the fucking All-Star break. The 21-60 from them. With a minus 223 run differential.
Just so bad.
God.
That's just so bad.
But we knew they'd be bad. They paid to be bad. Their entire payroll makes less than Matt Scherzer. I mean, it's a fucking travesty. Talk about Shohei
Ohtani's new contract is going to triple the A's.
Oh, it's going to be obscene.
Triple it.
But he deserves every penny that he gets.
For sure. I mean, that's more of a knock on the Rays than it is Shohei Ohtani.
Right. Right. Moving in the National League, gotta show our brother here, Atlanta Braves. Got to show them some love, sitting at the top of the NL East, 53-27. Have won their last 9 of 1. The Braves are hot, playing real good.
Their only loss
was
to the Reds on their 10-game win streak. The Reds,
which we'll get into.
The Reds have been cooking.
My new team. Yeah. Hold on, we'll get there.
I have a fun fact when you finish the NL East standings. Go ahead and finish the NL East standings real quick.
So, Braves out in front, Marlins 6.5 games back. Great season out of the Marlins, sitting over both the Phillies and the coping Mets that are 8 games under 500. Hysterical. 17 games back of the Braves. Atlanta is just really having a good time with the division currently. 3-7 in their last 10. Mets are falling apart.
What's going on with these baseball blue bloods?
You want to hear a fun Mets fact?
Did you just say Mets are blue bloods?
Yeah, that's a bad take. It's a really bad take. The high spenders. You can call them the MLB's high spenders.
You're right.
Yeah.
So over the course of the season, the Braves have 25 home runs in the first inning, which just by itself is a fairly impressive stats.
Through like 80 games, that's kind of crazy.
The Mets have scored 22 runs total in the first inning this year.
Average
Braves
fan. Chad Braves fan.
So funny. That was mentioned on the Braves broadcast today after they swept the Twins. So good fact.
Excuse me. There's been some shuffling over in the NL Central. Really interesting. The Reds have taken over the lead in the NL Central by a half game, sitting at 43-38. Really close division. Yeah, the Brewers, like I said, a half game back. Cubs kind of been disappointing, 4 games under 500. Pirates have fallen apart a little bit, 37-42. 3 of their last 7, or they're 3-7 in the last 10. So a little bit of a struggle for them. And the Cardinals, who have been fucking abysmal, bringing up the rear down there. Last division in baseball, the NL West. Speaking of disappointment, the Dodgers and the Padres both are still not leading their division. That would actually go to the Diamondbacks that are 48-32. Great season for them. Won their last 6 of 10. Then you got the Dodgers, still 10 games over 500, but they're 3 games back. The Diamondbacks tied with the Giants. Padres are 37-43, again continuing their disappointing season. They've lost their last 4 in a row. And then the Rockies, who just fucking suck, are bringing up the rear.
They're just there.
They're just there to have
they
fun.
Lost. How much did they lose to the Angels by the other night? I think the Angels were up by 24-0 at one point.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Rockies do have a minus 128 run differential. They have given up the second most runs in the league behind the A's, which kind of makes sense because it's a hitter's ballpark. So
yeah.
The All-Star break coming up, no? In
a
couple weeks, I believe.
Yeah, we just passed like the halfway point for games. I think like they just played game 82, so All-Star break should be coming up here.
I mean, home run derby is always a good time. That's always fun to watch. So
they just do a good job of actually getting like the best players in the home run derby.
Yeah,
I think more often than they do in the dunk contest.
Well, I mean, I'm a complete like. I hate the fact that stars won't compete, but it's also an injury thing for like.
No, it makes sense. You're not gonna hurt yourself in a home run derby.
Exactly.
Like you're just taking batting practice. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Also some news. Like we said, the Reds, they had actually won 12 straight at one point. So that said they catapulted themselves into first. Judge is actually back in the lineup for the Yankees for the first time since his toe injury. Big wuss, don't care. Fuck the Yanks. And the Twins actually closed their clubhouse after getting swept by the Braves to the media because they were coping and seething.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a crazy series because the Braves didn't score a lot of runs, but the Twins were just lost at the plate. And like the Braves pitching isn't bad, but it's not on that level. So tough look for the Twins.
So thank you for going through the MLB standings, Ryan. We're gonna go with some other miscellaneous headlines. This one, obviously solemn. This next headline: former NFL quarterback Ryan Mallet has passed away at 35 in a horrible drowning accident. So obviously thoughts, prayers, and condolences to his family and everyone surrounding the accident. Obviously that's horrible news.
Played on some really fun Arkansas Razorback teams too.
Yep.
Yeah,
he was
really
big. He was super tall.
Yeah, he was.
So sad news. And moving on to the next headline, Connor McDavid has won the Hart Trophy as the NHL's MVP for the third time. Connor McDavid with another incredibly successful season. Wow.
Still can't win in the playoffs. So it doesn't matter.
Can't win the cup.
And then moving on to our last headline. LSU are the men's College World Series champion. They beat Florida in one of the damnedest series that I have ever seen. A 3-game series, if you didn't know.
What the fuck was that series?
Number one,
fuck?
A defensive battle that LSU narrowly came up on top of. And keep in mind that these bullpens had been operating at an all-time high. Legitimately some of the best college pitching I have ever seen. Some of these LSU pitchers are going to go in the drafts like really early. And
Skeens is going number 1 overall. Their best starting pitcher, who, by the way, did not pitch in this final series.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean,
he's going number 1 overall. But anyways, keep going.
So as I said, the kind of a defensive battle, as most of the games were with these two teams in the tournament. In the first game, the second game, LSU gives up 24 runs to Florida. In an astonishing game. Obviously, like I said, the LSU bullpen operating at an all-time high, maybe just behind the Wake Forest one. Just in what the hell? Like 24 runs?
How do you come back in game 3 and do the exact same thing? You just turn it. That's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah. And as Ryan just mentioned, the last game ended up again. The roles flipped this time, and LSU's offense went on a tear, whereas Florida's pitching fell apart. I believe it was 12 runs in that last game that LSU scored. So only
18.
18? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. 18 runs, so completely flipped it on Florida. One of the weirdest series I've ever seen, especially when it comes to the Men's College World Series and 2 bullpens that have been operating at the levels they had for the whole tournament. Like, what the hell? So
talking
weird.
about the state of baseball, though, the final game of the series was the second most watched baseball game this season.
You said the second game of the series?
The third game.
Oh,
the final game is the second most watched baseball game of the year, only behind the WBC game between Shohei and Trout.
Yeah,
it's the only one that beat out viewership. But baseball's in a good spot. I'll tell you guys what. I went to 2 Braves games this week. The pitch clock is fucking awesome.
It is. When I went to a Reds game at the beginning of May, same thing.
Both games were done in 2.5 hours.
That's never understood the complaint for the pitch clock. I was like, yes, that's the best idea ever.
It's purists.
It does. I don't care. It's so long.
It's so good for the game.
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit the ball.
Exactly. But yeah, it's so good.
Baseball's in a good spot, I think.
It's definitely
still,
better.
Manfred's still an idiot. So.
So yeah, in terms of the headlines, that's what I have. We covered all the sports. We have a bracket. We have a new bracket, and we probably aren't going to do all of it today. We're going to do a little bit of it today, but basically Robbie came up with this idea. Robbie, would you like to say what this is?
Yeah, we're going to do a bracket of the best sports towns. And the way we're setting up this bracket, we want to do the seeding a way that it was, maybe not as much input by Connor having to go through and rank 1 through 32. So the way this is going to work is that your top seeds are going to be the teams with the most. We're talking about professional sports here. We're not talking about college towns. But the most professional sports teams, you're going to have your New York, LA at the top. We're going to go down the list by most professional sports teams. Any tiebreakers will be broken by population in that city, how big the city is. And we're going to go 1 through 32, and we're going to talk about their teams, how all their teams do, their fans, probably a little bit about the city itself. I think that can be thrown in there too.
Mhm.
We're going to do a bracket of what is the best sports town, professional sports town in the U.S.
And I have our first matchup here, gentlemen. As Robbie stated, the seeds were determined by the teams, but there's only 31 with at least 2 of the teams in the Big Four, which is the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and the NHL. And so I got to just pick for the 32nd seed. And so I just picked one that I am near most of the year because they have one professional sports team. So, but unfortunately, they're matched up against a juggernaut in this first round. So it doesn't really matter who the 32 seed was. But I have number 1 seeded New York City versus 30.
How many teams they got, Connor?
I believe it was 10. I believe the figure was 10. Oh, was it 10?
You got the Rangers, you got the Islanders, you got the Yankees, you got the Mets, you got the Nets, you got the Knicks, you have
Giants and Jets.
Oh, Giants and Jets. Jesus, so 8.
Or did you include MLS teams in there?
It might have been MLS. Yeah, you might be right.
I think it included MLS as well.
Are the New Jersey Devils in that?
Yeah.
Oh, they might be.
Yeah.
I think they are.
Regardless, we have New York City as the number 1 seed versus Oklahoma City as the 32nd seed with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah. I mean, we know where this is going. This is not a fair match.
It didn't really matter.
No knock on Oklahoma City, but
no.
I mean, New York team
do love the Thunder.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
I do love their team. You just got to go with New York.
Too many. Yeah, too many in New York.
Got to go with New York.
And they haven't been overly successful as of late, maybe outside of the Yankees. But I feel like when New York City sports teams are winning, like that gets people to watch.
Yeah.
Across the country. That's what you're watching games if New York teams are doing well. So
I'm excited for the next matchup. I think this one could cause some discussion here. Number 17 seed Seattle, number 18 seed Toronto. I think this is a good one right here. I think Seattle and Toronto is a good matchup. Because
I have my thought.
I think they're both pretty nice fan bases, both very loyal. Obviously, Seattle was heartbroken whenever the Supersonics moved to Oklahoma City. The Kraken being a recent team.
The tiebreaker, like
yeah,
if Robbie and I dissent on something.
Of course. I'm kind of arbiter.
So Rob, I think you start off with your thoughts, and then I'll give mine, and then Connor can be tiebreak if needed.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tough one because, like Connor said, two very likable fan bases. I think 2 cities that not a ton of success across the board. Obviously, the Raptors won not too long ago. But the Maple Leafs are the biggest chokers, maybe in any sports league. Like out of the Big Four, they might be the biggest chokers across the board.
Physically allergic to winning like playoff series.
But I'm gonna go with Toronto because of the loyalty still to the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs still have, I want to say, maybe the biggest fan base in the NHL. They have the best attendance. They still go out there and show out. And then you got Drake on the sidelines. What more could you ask for out of a city? And it seems you got Drake, so I'm going to go Toronto in a really close one because I do really like Seattle. I think the Mariners are an up and coming team, tough season, but a great city as well. But I'm going to go with Toronto.
I'm glad we already have our first dissent here. So I'm going to go with Seattle, and I think mostly because of how ravenous the Seattle Seahawks fans are. I think they're probably one of the I would say they're a top 5 like fan base for the NFL. The Kraken have been really adopted very quickly. Obviously, it helps being good. I think Seattle is really looking for another professional sports teams after the Supersonics left. And I think it's a shoo-in that Vegas and Seattle are both getting NBA teams in the next 5 years, right? It's all but confirmed as of this point.
Maybe 10.
So that's So that's kind of what has me leaning towards putting Seattle over the top. It's the Seahawks fan and the fact that they're getting an NBA team. I think, like you said, being a fan of the Maple Leafs after all this time, it is a fucking chore and a half. But I'm gonna give this to the U.S. city here.
Yeah, and I can see that. And like when the Supersonics left, you saw how big an outcry there was, and how people wanted the Seahawks or not the Seahawks, the Supersonics to stick around, and I think that was tough for the city. I don't know if the Supersonics are still there. Seattle obviously wins. I mean, more teams, but just nonetheless.
I think is a sick name. Seattle Supersonics. I think is a great basketball team.
Yeah.
Name.
Great jerseys too. Great branding.
So I guess it comes down to me. I guess I am the tiebreaker for this dissension here. Like you guys said, these are both incredibly likable fan bases. Both of them have had to deal with loss. Both of them have had levels of success. So, I'm gonna go with the 6. I'm gonna give it to the Canadians. I'm gonna give it to Toronto. I just feel like
6.
I feel like they have more.
You're just a Drake meat rider.
I feel like they have more history. Obviously, more recent success with the Raptors and stuff, and I think that kind of contributes to like what you see on social media with this. I feel like Canadians just likable in general, and Toronto I think just contributes to that being essentially an Americanized Canadian city.
It's a very American city.
Yes, so we're gonna go Toronto there. The next matchup we have the number 9 seeded Phoenix versus the 24 seeded Las Vegas.
Vegas. I'm going
Vegas. Oh, that was a quick one. Diamondbacks, Coyotes, Suns.
I was gonna say Phoenix is such a weak 9 seed.
Yeah,
like an incredible week.
I didn't do it.
And again, I'm kind of looking towards the future.
Yeah.
When you think about Vegas, right? There have been so many people that have moved to Las Vegas, like in recent memory. Same with Phoenix. Phoenix has grown pretty substantially, but like you're always gonna have people at those Vegas games because it's something to do in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
It's something that's aside from like the drinking and the gambling and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. The nights are good, obviously.
And their fan base is electric. They are all in on the nights in Las Vegas. Like they have a really strong following. Their games are packed out. They look like a great atmosphere. So yeah, I mean they're all in on the nights for sure.
The Raiders are a little bit weird because they still have like some of the cult following back in Oakland, and so there's just the Raiders just haven't been like great yet.
But, I was gonna say getting to inherit Oakland fans kind of gives you a leg up because that's great. One of the best fan bases in the NFL as well. I mean, Raiders fans are do or die at all times. So
they're gonna get an NBA team.
They're gonna get an MLB.
Assuming they're gonna get an MLB team as well.
I think that would sooner.
The A's are moving to Vegas.
Right.
So that's going to be a 4-team city. I think you're getting really good value here at the seed in terms of a town that's going to probably have 4 pro teams in the next 10 years.
Yep.
That's kind of why I'm going. I'm looking down the line. I'm taking
and
Coyotes are leaving Phoenix.
Still they might not be confirmed yet.
Okay.
Maybe not.
But I'm going to agree with Ryan. Also, would you rather spend a night in Las Vegas or Phoenix?
Also, fuck the Suns.
Yeah. Like we said, like Phoenix, for the amount of sports team they have, like to me, is not a great sports town. It's just not.
Suns have never won a championship.
Coyotes stink.
Coyotes are awful.
Beyond belief.
The Cardinals have been disappointing in the last 10 years. Like they had one of the nicest players ever, Larry Fitzgerald, but like
the Diamondbacks used to have sick uniforms, and Randy Johnson is a fantastic pitcher.
Shout out Randy Johnson.
But yeah, I'm with Ryan. I'm going Las Vegas.
If I'm taking one team from Phoenix, it's going to be the Diamondbacks.
Agreed.
And I don't think it's actually really close.
Ryan and I had this game that was on GameCube called Slugfest 2003, 2004.
Luis Gonzalez fucking raped.
Dude, the Diamondbacks. So Randy Johnson was on that Diamondbacks team in that game. That Diamondbacks team was one of the best. That team was disgusting. I always played the Diamondbacks, and Ryan always played the Cubs with Sammy Sosa. And so I remember like a lot about that.
Sosa all the time. It was so mean.
We got an interesting matchup here, Ryan. The city that you will be moving to, 25 seed Cincinnati versus the 8 seed Miami.
This is a good one.
It's a good one.
That's tough.
You want to start, Rob?
Yeah, this is a good matchup. The one thing that I think Cincinnati has going against it is that the Bengals are still owned by the Brown family. And Paul Brown is the biggest egotistical piece of shit.
Yeah.
If you don't know the story, he actually used to own the Cleveland Browns. And the reason that they are the Browns is because he named the team after himself. Their stadium is also still Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. He named that after himself too.
Bit of a douche.
Fans are great. I've been also FC Cincinnati. We're not talking about MLS, but their stadium is probably one of the nicest stadiums I've ever been in. It is awesome. Great atmosphere around their stadiums. There's a lot of stuff to do down there on the river, which obviously Ryan will come to know very well. But I'm still going to go with Miami. All of that being said, all of those things, I think Cincinnati drew a tough matchup here. Miami's a really good sports town. And the Heat, I think, are a really fun team to watch at all times. You had the big three. Now you have a really solid team again there. The Marlins, they finally got rid of that weird-ass statue in midfield, right? Is that gone?
Yep.
Thank God. But they have a really nice stadium that just got built. The Panthers are really successful. They have a great following all around the board, and you get to go out and hang out in South Beach after a win. What more could you ask for?
And if we want to talk about MLS, we got to talk about Messi going to Miami.
That's true.
So that's another big aspect.
Yeah, we're not talking about MLS, but yes, you know, I'm gonna have to agree with Miami. I think Cincinnati, for being a 2 sports team city, is probably top tier. Obviously the Bengals are really good right now. Bengals have been obviously dog shit for like the last 20 years. So like there's a lot of like, you know, excitement around them. Reds also being good. Reds and Bengals being good right now at the same time is also unheard of. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun
there at the season that I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of happiness up there and excitement, but I think you have to give it to Miami. I think it would be a bit of a homer pick for me to pick Cincinnati over Miami at this stage.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing my FC Cincinnati hat right now.
You better make your way up to a Bengals game or two. That would be a lot of fun.
100%. I think the Bills come to town.
Oh, that would be dope actually.
We're going to the Colts Bengals game in Cincinnati to watch our 2 adopted teams play. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. That's great.
Yep.
So here we go. Moving on. This is actually how it was labeled when I was doing the research. Number 5, the San Francisco Bay Area is how it's determined. And then I guess number 28, Nashville.
So you got the Preds and the Titans, and then you have the Niners, your
Giants.
I think the Warriors were technically still included. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they should be. They're the Bay Area team.
Yeah.
Yep.
But did they count? So they're
still counting the A's too.
Yeah,
that's right.
The A's are still in the Bay Area.
Was. Yep.
Oof.
Okay.
Yeah. There it is. Oh,
I don't think Nashville's a very good sports town.
Yeah.
I don't think so either.
You don't go to Nashville for like any of those teams. Like the Preds have a decent following, but the Titans are very mid in terms. So
I would say again, the Bay Area is a very weak high seed.
Yeah.
Agreed. The Niners have a great fan base.
So do the Warriors.
Kind of boned by what their stadium is. Yeah, the Warriors too. But like, I mean, you're gonna have now 2 teams leave the area in the last 5 years when the A's inevitably leave Oakland.
Right.
I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Obviously, Oakland is not San Francisco. It's not the same, but we are counting it as the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So I think I also begrudgingly go San Francisco just because Nashville is not a great sports town. But
to be honest, and again, bias trying to put aside, I would be thinking more about like a Cincinnati versus Bay Area team. I think there's a lot more passion in like a city like Cincinnati than there is for like a town like San Francisco. Yeah. Obviously, like the number 2 would be like the Giants. They really care about the Giants and they love the Giants and the 49ers. But like, and they didn't really give a shit about the Warriors, so they were good. Like you've always had Niners fans. Like they've been pretty ravenous.
Nashville just happens to be a music town first. You don't go to Nashville to be in a sports town. You go to Nashville to go listen to country music, and that's what hurts them in this matchup.
Yeah,
yep. I don't think it's really close in this one, but it's a weak high seed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 21 seed Baltimore versus the number 12 seed Minneapolis.
Oh, I think this is another really good matchup.
Interesting.
Really good matchup.
So Minneapolis, you have.
I can read you the teams. You have the
Timberwolves, the Twins,
the Vikings,
and then also the Wild,
Ravens. Oh, the Wild, yeah.
Where's the Ravens and the Orioles?
Yeah, I think it's Minnesota.
But which I hate because I really like Ravens and Orioles fans.
Yeah.
The Wild fans are pretty ravenous. Vikings fans, I mean, I've seen those games. So they get pretty fucking wild. Twins and Timberwolves can take and leave. Like,
I think that's the comparison, right? We're gonna go Vikings and Wild fans versus Orioles and Ravens, which maybe not fair to do because they do have more teams, but like those are the most passionate fans.
Yeah.
So,
and I do go Minnesota personally.
I think I think the Vikings are carrying here. If we're being honest, I think like they have the Skull Chant is awesome. I think that's one of the best traditions in the NFL, and I think that's a new thing, but it is awesome to watch. My heart wants to go Baltimore because I really like Connor said, both of those teams. But I do agree. I think Minneapolis edges them out in a closer matchup than maybe we would have thought.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as close as you think it is. Personally, I'm not putting as much thought into it. I think Minneapolis wins pretty handily there, but I do respect the Orioles fans.
Yep, and their stadium is awesome. Camden Yards is really cool.
Number 13, Denver versus number 20, Cleveland.
Cleveland, for all of the non-success it has had, I mean,
they keep coming back.
They're a great sports town.
Yeah.
Like through and through, I think Cleveland is a sports town. Like what else are you doing in Cleveland?
Let's not fucking shit.
Let's be honest.
I mean, the NFL Hall of Fame is like a little outside, so
I'm taking Cleveland. Cleveland fans are incredible.
So you got the Browns and the Guardians
and the Cavs.
Cleveland
is a sports town through and through. The dog pound, despite how Browns have been, is there every Sunday cheering them on. They might have bags on their heads, but they're going to be there, and they're going to be cheering to watch Ryan Couch throw 5 picks. But they're going to be there, and they're going to enjoy every second of it, and I can respect that.
Yeah,
you got the Broncos, you got the Nuggets, and you got the Avs in Denver.
Rockies.
And the Rockies. Excuse me. No one gives a shit about the Rockies. They're pretty bad anyways. Like you never really see anybody talk about the Avs. They're pretty ravenous.
Yeah.
They got a really big following out there in Denver.
Recency bias because the Avs used to be shit.
Yeah, true.
Right.
They were,
but also Colorado is a hockey
sure
town.
Yeah.
Right. So Broncos. I mean,
fair weather fans.
Yeah,
honestly, they are fair weather fans. And obviously Nuggets, everyone's a fucking Nuggets fan right now because
right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the best player, the best player in the world. Yeah,
and you just won a championship.
You have to take that with a grain of salt. I think the fact that the Browns actually are able to sell tickets is a minor miracle in its own, and really does speak to the people of Cleveland. Because you're right, all of those teams in Cleveland in the last 20 years have been the worst teams in their respective leagues at one point or another, and they still find a way to keep making it back. Guardians in the World Series, Cavs in multiple NBA championships, and Browns will never get there. So
they made the playoffs. They did. Baker led them to the promised land. But
I'm gonna have to agree. I'm gonna have to agree with Rob. If we're talking about sports towns and fans and people that care about their teams, push aside the championships. I want to see the people that are going to the teams that are fucking awful. Let's go with Cleveland.
I like
Denver. Denver is a beer and weed town. They're not a sports town.
There you go. Rob. I agree.
Number 29 seeded Milwaukee versus number 4 seeded Dallas.
Man, Dallas got some fair weather fucking fans. It's really bad. It's really bad. I think
I don't think you can take Brewers fans are fucking awesome though.
The Rangers fans are really fair weather.
That's the worst one.
It's
the Rangers fans.
Cowboys
fans are. Cowboys fans aren't Cowboys fans because they're fans of the Cowboys. They're fans of teams that were winning back in the 90s.
They're horrible.
They just keep parroting that.
Stars fans, I think, are good.
Yeah.
Mavs fans, I think, are good.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the best fans are probably the Mavs fans.
Agreed.
I think they're the least fair weather of them
least
all.
Annoying
But
too, probably.
And the Mavs have not been dog shit since we've been alive. They've
one season
dog shit.
when Calderon was the starting point guard and the best player on the team. It was 1 year where we were really bad, but that was about it.
Oh man,
this one's kind of weird. This one's kind of weird.
I don't think I could take Milwaukee over Dallas.
I don't think I can.
Another case of a high seed that I think is not super strong.
Yeah.
But I can't take Milwaukee over Dallas.
I keep going back to the example. It's I don't know if Cincinnati versus Dallas. There might be a debate.
Dallas?
Yeah,
I think spoil the next round.
Dallas, I'm taking Cleveland.
Don't spoil the next round.
We'll have to see. But we'll move Dallas. We'll move Dallas to avoid a giant upset there.
Oh yeah, we've done exactly half of the first round, so it's up to y'all if y'all want to do the entire first round. What do you want to do?
I think we do 8 at a time. I think we can do 8 at a time, and I think that makes sense. So do the other half of the first round next time, and then we'll do the entire second round, and then we'll pick it the rest of the way out in a finale and the fourth installment of this draft.
That has been our bracket. Props to Robbie for coming up with that one. That was a great idea. Obviously, we had a jam-packed episode today. We had a lot going on. We hope you guys tuned in for the entire thing. Thank you very much for over 50 subscribers. That's awesome. Obviously, our shorts are helping us grow a little bit. I am going to be with Ryan and Robbie this coming up weekend. And we're going golfing on Saturday. So I will make sure to get some content for you guys.
Yeah, we'll make some golf content for sure.
Make some golf content. But that has been our episode for this week. Who wants to sign us out?
I'll sign us out. For myself and Ryan and Connor, thank you for listening. Keep subscribing, keep watching and interacting with any of our shorts on any platform. And if you want to drop in comments any ideas you have for future segments or anything you want us to talk about more, let us know and we'll rope that in. Thank you for listening, and please gamble responsibly.